Thank you very much, Aditya. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rohit Kumar, and we are starting this first workshop under the IEEE student branch of IIIT NIA Raipur. Recently, we formed the branch, and as Aditya told that we are going to conduct workshops under different topics and focusing different areas. So we are starting with networking, and as a focus of networking, as we know that simulation is the main thing in any network implementation because it is really costly to introduce the topic in a real environment. So that's why instead of setting real test beds, so why not to do some sort of simulation or emulation so that your cost gets down and you can implement or test your supposed protocol or proposed protocol, whatever you are doing, to test whether it is working appropriately or not. So why we chose NetSim? First question arises because first thing that it is not open source. Second thing that it is costly. Third thing that we can simulate multiple things, but not all things. But still, we have a version 10 here. What I am going to show you. We have version 11 also. We have version 12 also of NetSim. So 2 years back we purchased this version. 3 years back almost. So at that time it was the latest one. So what I'm going to show you, it is the NetSim version 10. So this time under this workshop, we are going to talk whatever we are going to talk, that is with respect to version 10 only. So some of the features related to the software defined networking, advanced cellular implementation, those things are not going to be discussed here. And most of the things, those are present in version 10 also. Those things we are not going to discuss in detail because as the topic itself says that it's an hands-on introduction to NetSim. So what is the focus that I am going to detail how to create a simple network in NetSim. Later on, if you are interested, you can add on the complexity and you can see that how you can actually test the different protocols. But point is that when we work in a particular environment, different sort of problems do occur. For example, if you are working in a simulated environment, then some of the features are theoretical. Means as of if we work in an emulated environment, then it is close to hardware. And we suppose that whatever behavior you are emulating in a particular emulator, those are supposed to be run exactly in the test bed environment. So that's why we just start with the basic introduction, lots of theory. So I hope my screen is visible to you. Is it?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. 1 minute. थोड़ा सा धीरे. Now my screen is visible to you, I hope.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, okay. We start with the initial introduction of NetSim. I start it. It is the home screen. We'll discuss it. So it is the icon. It is the icon of NetSim. When we start working with NetSim, when you purchase NetSim, two basic utilities comes with it. First is the server license and second is the end user license. So end user license is supposed to be installed in your end device. For example, I am presenting or introducing you this software through my desktop. So my desktop is supposed to have this particular utility, that is the client side utility. And there is a one server side utility that is already installed at the server of our network. So that's why it is the client utility. If you have this one, you are able to do it. But as I told you in the introduction only that it is a paid software. So due to the license limitation, we didn't offer the hands-on to the users of this workshop because we got almost 60 to 65 responses, 65 registrations, and we have only 30 licenses. So it was a sort of problem that to whom we need to deliver the access and to whom we need to restrict. So that's why we decided to continue experiment or hands-on session at our end, and you will witness all the experiments, and later on if you have any problem then you can raise your questions. So you double click this particular icon. It will ask for permission, give the permission, and it will open up in a grid pattern. Before opening it up, it will ask for you the IP and the port number. This IP stands for the server registration that is already done at the with respect to the server IP. So here our IP is this one and port number 5053 running on. So just simply OK it and it will open up. So it is the home screen of NetSim. Now, if we focus here, then it is the NetSim, the trademark of the company. And here it is the academic. This academic shows the version. The academic, and that is version 10. So there are two license types. First is the academic, second one is standard. Academic license is given for the academic purposes and standard one stands for the research purposes. So in standard NetSim version, you will have some more liberal connections that you can do. You can sort of experiment with the source code. In academic version, it is you are not supposed to do so. So you are a bit limited in academic version. So that's why we are testing it in academic version. So some of the limitations means if you see videos of NetSim on some other YouTube channels or somewhere else, then you may find some of the differences. Those differences might be because of the version incompatibility or the version type incompatibility. So don't worry, most of the things are same and some of the things are different due to the version or the version type. So starting with the basic introduction, it is the home screen, 4 menus basically, 3 main ones. Fourth one is the help, that is the normal one in every software. So starting from the simulation, we have the options of like new, open, save as, and finally analytics. These 4 options, initial 4 are the common ones, remain present in almost every software. Fifth one is the analytics related to how to analyze or compare the results of different protocols. For example, you conducted 5 experiments, 5 different experiments, 5 results. Now you want to compare those. Then you are supposed to put the results in the Excel sheet and draw the charts. But if you have the ready-made analytics version here itself, then why to go there? So same thing, you just simply save the results of all the experiments. Later on, go to the analytics, import all the results, and you can simply visualize. You can see the comparison, how one result is varying with respect to another. Second option is of programming. Under programming options, we have lots of options starting from ARP to cryptography to multi-level multiple access, PC to PC communication, and transmission flow control, etc. So these programming examples show you how particular concept, whether it is theoretical or practical, sort of those theoretical concepts are supposed to be demonstrated here in practical form. So for example, if I click on ARP, then it will give you the practical demonstration of ARP, how actually the concept of ARP is going to be executed at the back of your network. Because in networking, main problem is that we have so many acronyms, so many problems, so many protocols that you are unable to concentrate on the full forms. You are unable to concentrate on the exact functioning. So in a specific software, what I really liked about NetSim is that it is a kind of very user friendly. You can see lots of help, lots of documentation, and you can have the multiple demonstrations with respect to each example. So, okay, I start with I click on the ARP protocol. Then it will give you the modes, whether you want to run this particular concept or protocol in sample mode or user mode. Sample mode introduces with you this particular sample, means whatever sample is given in the default NetSim installation that you can execute here. But if you have your own ARP implementation, if you have the exe of that particular protocol, then you can go choose the user mode. It is not working. Okay, now it got it. Okay, so when you will click on the user mode, it will ask for the path of the executable exe file. So wherever in the directory you have stored your exe file, just simply browse it, click OK, it will get loaded. As we don't have the executable exe at our side, so that's why we'll not choose this particular option. We will go through the sample demonstration of ARP protocol. So in ARP, what is the concept? A simple concept that suppose initially your network got set up and the network is very fresh. So devices are not familiar with each other. So when we supposed to have a data link layer protocol in the network, then one device is supposed to be familiar with the MAC address of another device. So all the devices should have the MAC addresses of other devices, the communicating devices, so that they could transfer the packets to each other at the network layer only. Sorry, at the data link layer only. At network layer, if you go, you will need the IP addresses, etc. So at the local network level, you will need to have the access of MAC addresses. So initially, we'll choose the number of nodes. So for example, I choose 4 number of nodes. So on the right side, you will see the visualization. So this visualization will help you to understand how exactly the process of ARP is going to be working here. So ARP request format from source, destination, source MAC, and destination MAC. Same ARP reply format with respect to source IP, destination IP, source MAC, and destination MAC. So starting with the IP addresses of different nodes. So suppose the IP address of these 4 nodes are listed down like this. Okay, so 1.1, 1.2, 3, and 4. If you have more devices, they will get listed down here. Now, which one is the ARP request system? Because there are total 4 systems in your network. So one system is supposed to request for a particular resource, or one system want to get connected with the another system. So whichever system trying to get connected, that is the request system, and to whom it is trying to connect with, that is the reply system. So you are the source, another one is the destination. So here I make 1.1 as the request system, and I choose 1.4 as the ARP reply system. It means system 1 tries to connect with system 4, okay, through the connecting device. It may be switch or something, whichever the interconnecting device it is. Okay, now simply run it. So when I run it, you can see here ARP request is going from source address 1.1. It came. Now it got broadcasted. Why it got broadcasted? Because the destination MAC is FF. Then ARP reply is coming from 1.4 through the centralizing device. It is going back to the source system. So now understand the definition here. ARP request format. The ARP request got originated from 1.1, means this system. Then which was the destination with respect to this particular ARP request? 1.4, means this system. One was trying to connect with system 4. So source IP 1.1, destination 1.4. Now source MAC, as the device is supposed to be familiar with its own MAC address, so it is already available. So the source MAC was this of system 1, but destination MAC was not supposed to be already there. So that's why the packets got broadcasted. So earlier, as you saw in the okay, let me refresh it. Here, see here, destination MAC address is not visible. When it is not visible, the device will simply broadcast. See here, the packets got broadcasted. Now, when device 4 recognized the IP of itself, because this IP was in the request format, so device 4 recognized its own IP. Now it sent back its MAC address. So this time, this is the MAC address of destination device that is transmitted to the source device. So source device was 1.1. So this time destination device became 1.1 and source device became 1.4. It sent its MAC address in the form of source MAC, because reply packet is coming from source, from destination to source, and the destination MAC address became the source MAC address. So this MAC address got copied in the destination MAC field. So I hope it is clear. It is just a simple explanation of ARP protocol, that why ARP is needed and how does it actually function. So let's close this particular example and come on to the basic screen. So here the basic things are listed down here, that we click on the simulation, we go on to the new. If you want to open the new simulation, then you can open simulations. You can go to the programming menu. Then you can open different technologies. So these are the different technologies listed down here. Then to view the introductory animations, means some of the basic animations, how the things will function, etc., etc. Then these are the basic simulations. Under this particular section, you go into these sort of, you can say, documentation. The video, audio documentation is present here, not audio, especially video. Then some user manual and experiment manual are available in the help menu. Some of the videos are already available at the TEDCOS website and at the TEDCOS YouTube channel. So you can go there and you can see them. And if you have any technical support, you can call them. So these basic menus got covered up, I think. So if you go in the basics also, then it will show you the basics. I'm not getting connected right now. Okay, leave it. It is not functioning right now in a proper way. So these are the simply theory sort of classes. Means if you don't have the idea of different protocols, etc., then you can simply go into programming and basics. These two menus will help you to get familiar with the different protocols and different concepts of computer networks. With respect to our interest, only simulation menu is really helpful, and help menu will introduce you the various capabilities. Those you can do, those things you can perform in the NetSim version 11 or version 10. So simulation start. As we are focusing this in this particular session, we are trying to focus on the very basic introduction of NetSim. So we'll start with the internetworks. Why internetworks? Because internetworks are supposed to be the Ethernet form of networks. In this, we will not have sort of means in internetworks, we will focus on the wired form, Ethernet form, because again the wireless becomes the advanced form of Ethernet form of networks. So starting with Ethernet, we'll talk about the legacy, advanced wireless, etc., etc. in the next sessions under the IEEE student branch. But in this particular session, we are going to talk about only wired internetworks. Okay, because as we got the response from multiple users, most of them we asked in the submission registration form that what is your exposure level. So most of the users replied that they are the beginners. So we don't try to complicate the session, and just try to start with the very basic introduction of networking and a very basic hands-on of NetSim. So I click on the networks right now. Before that, just to talk about little about these things. It is the legacy network. If you want to test the old networks, means legacy means the traditional networks. Those were in the practice long ago, 70s, 80s, 90s, but not popularly used nowadays. For example, Pure Aloha, Slotted, Ring, Bus, CSMA, CD, etc. It is not like that the uses of these networks stopped completely, but these networks were popular in back date, in the 80s, in the 90s, and those were famous because of their intended capabilities at that time. But later on, many advanced networks got developed like MANET, WiMAX, BGP, ZigBee, and nowadays we are seeing the IoT. So much IoT development is going on. So that's why because these sort of advancements came, so the older technologies got disappeared, or they became obsolete. So in this way, legacy networks are going to talk about those. Then some of the advanced wireless network, BGP, cellular, sensor network, everyone knows well about these things. IoT, ZigBee, cognitive, and LTE. Under LTE, again, the advanced forms of LTE, the femtocell and device to device. So starting with the internetworks, I click on the internetworks, and it is the home screen of NetSim. Means just the previous screen you saw there, that is the main home screen. But in actual, that is just a classification that which particular type of network you want to choose on. And when you move on and you choose a particular type of network, then this is the main screen where you are going to form your network. You are going to deploy your application. And once the network got set up, application got set up, then you are ready to move on. Again, first hardware setup, application setup, two important steps. Then you will try to attach that particular application to your network means you will configure the parameters of that particular application with respect to your network setup. And then how exactly means you have configured how many number of source, destination, how many number of applications you have taken, what is the link parameters, what are the device parameters. Based on those things, everything will run in the real time. And those real-time dynamic metrics you can visualize from here. You can also log the events. So that's why event trace option is there, packet trace option is there. So starting from the left side, I'll introduce with all of these things one by one. These are the multiple nodes available in the environment. So if I click on the node, all the options will get listed down here. So starting from the wired node, wireless node, user equipment, WiMAX, etc., etc. Different nodes. You can simply click and drag and drop here. So I click here and choose the wired node and just simply click here. Click there, click here. That's all. So in this way, you can put multiple nodes. No worry. Right click on any particular node and you can go into properties, change icon, and you can remove it. Okay. So if you want to remove it, it will simply get removed in this way. Similarly, we have different interconnecting devices in the form of switches, hub, concentrated. Little difference in the form of hub and concentrated. Now you can see that these icons are not available in this particular setup. So in inter-network scenario, you are not supposed to use the hub or the concentrator. Hub and concentrator are sort of similar devices. In the cellular networks, you see the form of concentrator. So let's leave that discussion. We'll simply choose the switch. Again, you can click here. So in the same way, router, we have multiple forms, MME, MSC, border router, and internal router. Again, with respect to inter-networks, only internal router is available. So you can simply click here and you can drop multiple instances, as many as you want. So it is really clear that the network setting in this particular environment of NetSIM is really simple. You just simply click on the icon, you just simply drop it. There are the links available. Click on the wired or the wireless link depending on the network configuration. Click on one device. And again, I clicked on the same device. So it is saying that link cannot be connected to the same device because it will create loop. So click on one device, then click on another device. So first link got set up here. Why it is 1 here? You can see one here. Again, you can see one here. And you can see one with respect to router also. Actually, I think I deleted that one. Okay. So whichever device you will drop here, it will get numbering 1. 1 means it is the first device. So with respect to first device, total number of devices are here. And then first link is here. So devices, links. With respect to devices and links, you will get the numbering. So total devices are 11. Total links are 1. Then you create the second link. It will get the numbering 2. Three, 4, and so on. So devices and links. Again, base station is not available, sensor not available, sensor sync is not available, agents, etc. Now, up to here, up to this division, on the left side ribbon, you will find the devices. On the right side, in the middle, it is the application. So it is the hardware setup. These icons on the left side ribbon will help you to set up your hardware environment. In the middle is the application, and on the right side, these are the different options that you can use for the real-time analysis. Means you want to log the events, you want to see them in the real time, you want to see the simulation, and then at the simulation time, if you want to record video, those options are also available. So later on in the simulation, you will see how you can record video and later you can play on. So what's the benefit? That if you have recorded video, later on if you want to analyze one step, every step carefully, then it is not possible to again rerun. So it's a better option. NetSIM provides that you can record your video in the real time. Later on, if you want to analyze something, you go open the play video and just simply stop it at any time and just simply you can increase the animation speed, you can reduce the animation speed, and you can simply see how a particular packet is moving onto the link. Then some network settings are there. You can set your networks. So leave it right now because you can see the radio ranges, etc. on off. We'll start here with a basic demonstration of the first NetSim hardware setup. So it is the zoom in option. If you want to zoom or focus on a particular area in the grid environment, you can zoom in. Similarly, you can zoom out. Now at the default screen, if you once get the default screen, it is the default setup. So here if you click zoom out, it will not zoom out because it is the default setup. Once you zoom in, then you can zoom out. Similar way, you can close it and you can get help from here. So if you close it, it will ask whether the experiment is not saved. Do you want to save? Right now, no, we don't want to set up. So if we don't want to save it, it will simply close. And again, we have to go into the simulation menu. We have to open a new network setup. And if we want to open, then we will go into the open option. But as we want to create first, then we came into the create option. So, okay, let's start. Suppose I want to connect two nodes. Both are wired nodes. It is clearly visible here. So I right click first because I am setting the environment. So two nodes. Now to connect these nodes, I need a link. Obviously, these are wired nodes. So suppose I take wireless link. I click here, then I click here. It will say connection between wired node A and wired node B is not allowed. Please connect nodes to intermediate devices like a switch or a router. First thing, that two nodes cannot be directly connected. You need a intermediate connecting device. So what is the intermediate connecting device? Either switch or router. So I take a switch, considering that it is a local network. If I don't want to send my packets to the outside world, then we don't need a router. Okay. So simply I need a switch. Again, I click on link and I click on wireless. See here. Use a wired link to connect a wired node A and switch C. Okay. So what I'm trying to convey is that in NetSim, even if you make some mistakes, okay, then as in many open source softwares, many times we do the wrong hardware configuration. Many times we do mistakes. In software configuration, it is quite easily possible that we do some sort of errors. So in the real time, we'll get wrong results. It is harder to detect those things. But in the hardware setup time also, in many open source options, if you do so, it allows you. But in NetSim, even if you are making some mistake, then it is clearly shows you the message that you are doing this particular thing wrong. So means for a novice user also, if you are a new user, then NetSim is a good choice for you because clearly you can see great GUI facilities available. Everything is set up here, and most importantly, that you have the help option. Whenever you will click on the particular help option, it will show you that exactly how can you work in a particular environment. So here, with respect to internetworks, whole help is available here. Click and drop the devices like switch, router, access point, like we did here. We dropped some devices. Now it is saying select the appropriate link, whether wired or wireless, appropriate. So obviously our device is wired one. So wired link is the appropriate link. From the toolbar, it is the toolbar to connect the devices. Then click on the link and click on the first device followed by the second device to link them. Means you need to choose the link, click on the first device and then click on the second device that you want to connect with. So every option means every step is written down here. You don't need to remember everything. You don't need to read out from third resource or from online resource that where I need to go with. If you open the environment, everything is available here. You can easily create your own environment. You don't need to see the repetitive videos. You don't need to go into the again and again into the user manual. So just a simply step-by-step process I'm showing you here. Then right click on the device in the environment and set the properties one by one. Okay. So first I connected the devices. Now it is saying that right click on the device, go into the properties and adjust the properties or set the parameters. So change icon if you have any other option in your system. So it will give you the option to change the icon, but I don't want to. So I just simply resume. If I want to remove, we'll click remove. And now I want to set the parameters. So I'll click the properties. So I click the properties. So with respect to wired and node properties, lots of options come in here. These are the general properties. By default, it starts up with the first category. So these are general properties. It is the name. Here you can edit it. It is a text box. So I write it node 1. Okay. Device type is wired node and it is the first wired node. Type is node and it is the latitude, it is the longitude, the x and y direction, and it is the z dimension. If you want to create the multi-dimensional space, if you want to create the 3-dimensional space, then this particular option will get on. But as NetSim is working on this particular feature, so that's why it is not available right now. Then you suppose if you want to have, okay, we'll discuss this wireless option, Wireshark option later on, but a short description that if you have created a network and your packets are moving from one device to another, then it is hard to analyze those packets in real time. So it is a better way that you just simply log all those packets into a particular file, and then you can open it in a particular word processor or some sort of packet analyzer like Wireshark. And then you can see, apply multiple filters, then you can see the behavior of packets, how the packets are moving from one device to another. When you run a simulation like we'll run shortly, then even in a time space of 5 to 6 seconds, lots of packets do get transmitted. Within 5 to 6 seconds, you will get hundreds of packets. So it is really hard to analyze all the packets. If you want to have the statistics, you have to use some sort of packet analyzer, and Wireshark is that particular solution. So at a particular device, suppose you want to analyze packets at that particular device, then you can enable or disable at that particular device. Okay, sort of thing. And these are the interface count. Interface count means the number of interfaces attached to one particular device. So this is the device wired node 1 and it is the single line going from here. So number of interface counts is 1. So I hope all the things are clear. And even if it is not, and you have access to NetSim somewhere, okay, because it is a licensed version, so it is not supposed to be available at every user's side. So I'm hoping that if any of you have, then you can simply go into this I button. If you click on particular I button, it will give you the information. So with respect to device name, I clicked on I button, then it gave the device name. It is the name of device. Okay. So wherever you have confusion, you just simply click on iDevice. So with respect to Wireshark, Wireshark is a network protocol analyzer. It can capture raw network traffic from an interface and perform deep inspection of packets for a large amount of protocols and packets. So everything is available. Documentation is ready. So in the ready hands-on practical environment, you can have the ready documentation also. It's a great help because again, the same thing in the networking domain, lots of domains, lots of fields, lots of small fields where you want to work on. And then there are numerous protocols, and in those protocols, almost unlimited options. Those you cannot remember at your own side. So it is necessary that in a particular effective network simulator, you have some sort of help. So this particular feature of NetSim is really good that at every step you will find these particular I buttons. Wherever there is a I button, you just simply click on it and you will get the ready-made information. So with respect to this Z option, click here to identify the location of the device in Z axis for a 3-dimensional analysis, and it is currently being developed. Okay. So I hope it's okay. So network with respect to wired node, general properties are over. These are just the position of this particular device in the grid. And then what is the name? Then do you want to enable, do you want to log the packets, and then you want to analyze, then Wireshark, and how many interfaces. Move on. We come on to the application layer. When we click on application layer, it says application to and from this device can be configured only by clicking and dropping the application icon on the ribbon. Where is the application icon? I'll show you. Then right clicking and setting up the application properties. So two things. First, you need to drop down the application icon. Then you need to set up the properties. Okay. Then we accept this particular thing and we come and see here. See here, it is the application. So first we'll set up the hardware in this environment, this grid environment, and then we'll set up the application. Okay. So we'll discuss later on. First we discuss, hang up. First we discuss the other properties, then later we'll discuss the application layer property. So suppose basic done. Now after application, if we are, because I assume that most of you are familiar with the stack development and the different protocol layer structure. Those are used in the network structure, networking structures. So we have two particular options, the ISO OSI and second one is TCP IP. So as we are familiar that on most of the systems we do have the TCP IP setup. So that's why after application layer we directly have the transport layer. So it is supposed to be that the session and the presentations are the part of application layer. So it is not supposed to be detailed here. So if you are considering the OSI layer structure, then do not consider that. In most of the networks, the TCP IP is being followed, and with respect to IP layer, because the IP layer becomes very light. If you exclude the session and presentation, then application layer becomes really light. So just to cope up with those things, to reduce the complexity, those things are combined here, and application layer took that responsibility to consider the session and application presentation responsibilities. Then we move on to the network transport layer. So at the transport layer, you have the familiar options, either TCP or UDP. So with respect to TCP and UDP, you can set your options. Again, the same thing. Now, if you are a beginner, again, what is this? All these things: congestion control algorithm, maximum sync rate, rise acknowledgement type, maximum segment size, then initial threshold, then wait time, etc., etc. Don't worry, everything is available here. You can see the I button. Wherever you see the I button, don't worry, everything is there. So you just simply click on it. It will give you the whole information. Congestion control algorithm. Congestion control algorithm is used to control the congestion in the network. Old RAW is the combination of slow start and congestion avoidance algorithm, etc., etc. Means I'm not going into the detail of these things, because again, same thing, that networking is vast. So many protocols will be there, and detailing everything is not possible. I'm giving you just a plain introduction that how you can start your practical in NetSim or any other simulator or emulator, because in every other simulator or network emulator also, same sort of things remain present. Somewhere documentation is not good, somewhere documentation is good. Like in open source software, so the main things that lacks is proper documentation is not there. In the real-time environment, you will get the you will not get the documentation. So that's why NetSim sort of things becomes really handy. If you are a new developer, then it is really good for you. So suppose we choose TCP here, then we click on TCP and we remove UDP. Now only TCP packets will get transmitted from this particular device. Okay. And then we set the properties: new Reno, old Tau, Tau, Reno, etc. Different types of congestion control algorithm. Congestion control is one of the property or the responsibility, you can say, of transport layer. So when you read the OSI or TCP IP layer structure in your networking books, then different responsibilities of a transport layer, what are the functions performed by network layer, these things you read and brought in your examinations. All those things are listed down here. The congestion control, responsibility of transport layer. The retries, responsibility of transport layer, means if your connection gets dropped, then again you will retry for it from transport with the help of application, obviously. Then acknowledgement type, delayed, undelayed, maximum segment set, etc. Selective repeat, selective acknowledgement, these things. So we click on the TCP, we uncheck UDP, and we simply accept it. Okay. Sorry, one thing remained, network layer. So at transport layer, TCP we are using. Moving on to the network layer. At network layer, we don't have much option, because we know IP is the default standard. So we are using the Internet Protocol version 4 here. If you uncheck it, then version 6 support is supposed to be available, but right now it is not available. So that's why you have a single option, that is IP version 4. So ICMP, that is the supporting protocol. at network layer. So ICMP is supposed to be part of this, and these are the continuous polling. So number of polling that you can give here. Again, the I button comes into the help. You can show you the echo mechanism, the responsibility of echo and all will be taken care of, will be taken care by ICMP. So again, moving on to the interface layer, it is really important. See here, at the interface layer, you have the different interfaces. Like I already told you that there is single interface. So it is written over here because there is single link. So at the interface 1, it is the interface 1, first interface. So what is the interface 1 type? That is Ethernet, sort of. And because it is the wired network, so it is the Ethernet net. So network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. Now, why again the three things? Because we already discussed the network layer. Then why again the network layer present here? Because it is related to the properties of interface. When we say that your system has this particular IP, your system has that particular IP, what does it mean? It means your network card, your interface has that particular IP. Now, similar way, that is the pseudo one, means that you have allotted. You have given the dynamic IP through DHCP server or something like that, or you have allotted the static IP configuration. So that is changeable, easily changeable means. But on the other hand, you have the MAC address at data link layer. That is not easily changeable, but you can change it. So we consider, means in layman terms, we consider that MAC address is not changeable and IP address is easily changeable. So lots of things work on like that, but we consider that MAC address is also changeable and IP is also changeable in real environment. You can do that. But in this particular simulation environment, we assume that MAC address is fixed. So that's why you can see here that MAC address box is not a text box, but the IP address box is a text box. So you can click here, you can change it. Okay. So I set the default option, that is 1.2. If you want to have a different net mask, you can put on here. Okay. Right now here we are using the 16-bit net mask. So that is the default gateway if you want to provide. Default gateway means the last device in your network that is supposed to transmit your packet to the other networks. So you can put your network address here. By default, it is the first device connected to the device connected to other networks. First device of your network connected to other networks. That is supposed to be the default gateway. So usually if your address is like this, 10.10.1.2, then your default gateway becomes 10.0.1.1. So sort of thing you can put here. If you don't put it here, then in DHCP, it will work automatically because DHCP will take care of all the things. Okay, so you don't need to worry about this thing. Then ARP, I showed you in the programming demonstration, the functioning of ARP, that if you don't know, means switch doesn't know. Because interconnecting device is what? It is switch. Because when we tried initially to connect two nodes together, I drew a link from there to here to there. Then obviously it displayed an error message that you cannot connect two devices directly. You need an interconnecting device. That interconnecting device might be in the form of switch, might be in the form of router, etc. So that's why we used an interconnecting device. Now it is saying that ARP. So ARP with respect to this particular device, it will send its connection request, means ARP request. It with ARP request format. What was that format? The source IP, destination IP, source MAC, destination MAC. So at switch side, a table will be formed. Inside this, IP of source, IP of destination, MAC IP, source MAC and destination MAC. So here, initially it will send the packet. It knows the IP address of another network, but it doesn't know the MAC address. So it has to use the network layer. If it uses the network layer, then networking means a networking layer device should be present. We need to use the router. Okay, so as it is a switch, so it will function at MAC level. So you need to use the MAC address, but it doesn't know the MAC address, so it will simply forward this. When at the switch side, source IP, destination IP, source MAC packet will come, then it doesn't know the destination MAC. So it cannot forward the packet to this one. Right now, there is no other choice because it is the source. then what are the destination? It is the only destination. But suppose if there are the 4-node scenario like we showed earlier in the programming exercise, then 2 more nodes will be present here. So 1 node here, 1 node here, assume it. Then packet will come from here. Then switch will take the responsibility to identify. Then it simply broadcast the packet. So ARP request packet will get broadcasted to this particular node, that particular node, and that particular node. Okay. Now, when the packet got received, particular destination, which one is the destination? This one. How did we get to know that it is the destination? Because in the ARP request packet, there was the IP address of destination with the title destination IP. Now, this only, its a destination gets merged with the packet destination IP field, then it will only reply in the form of ARP reply packet. So here the reply packet will come and will go down here. This time, with respect to reply, switch will not broadcast the reply packet to this node, and this node. Why? Because it already knows that its MAC address is listed down in its MAC table. So I hope it is clear. And till now, if you have any question, any of you, then please you can ask. You can unmute yourself, or we will proceed further. With respect to basics, because I think the theoretical part is sort of basic introduction part is over. Slowly we'll cover time to time. If you have any question, please. Am I audible?
Sir, could you please tell me the difference between switch and router?
Yeah. So why not? We know that switch is a layer 2 device. Okay, we have layer 3 switches also. Those are under development. Those perform the functionality of layer 2 also and layer 3 also. So when we understand the networking from a theoretical point of view, then again, as I told you that we have the OSI layer structure, we have the TCP IP layer structure. So layer 1 is the physical layer, then layer 2 is the data link layer, third one is the IP layer. So at network layer, things are supposed to be processed in IP form. Means every device at network layer will have an IP address. So you need to set up these things, the IP address related things. So at the network layer, you need to form the device IP, then the respective subnet, then the gateway, etc., etc. Okay. But if you come at the downside, at the data link layer, then you don't need IP. You only need MAC address. Now, if I already have IP, then why do I need MAC? Because it reduces your processing time. Because when we saw, means if you see the communication, if you allow me, I will show you. Here you can see. So if this image is visible to you, then in Frozen book, in computer networks of Frozen book, it is given in a really good form that everything is in the form of pictures there. So it is easily understandable. So you can see here, like packets are coming from here. It is the transmitting device. Then application software is working here, some sort of. It will come down here. Then data. One header will get added. Then another header will get added. Each layer will add its own header. In the reverse processing, at the receiving, means the destination side, these headers will get removed one by one. And ultimately, the application software will receive only the intended data. Means it is the original data. So this particular data will only get received by the receiving device. So what exactly I am trying to say? That if you have only the data link layer, then your communication will go from physical. Suppose here, if only data link is here, then you don't need to process the IP layer. After data link, only directly your application device will be present here. Coming on to the NetSIM environment, you see here, in this environment, we have, it is our actual device, then it is our physical layer, it is the wire. Now data is transmitting on this particular link, means the data or the packet is at the physical layer. Once it is at physical layer, it comes at the receiving side, it is the receiving device. Then at receiving device, it will go in the bottom to top position. So from bottom to top position, it will we will see first the physical, then data link, then IP. So in this way, if you don't have the IP layer, then after data link, directly the application layer will be there. So in this way, you can see that the processing time of IP layer is gets reduced. You don't need to process the packet at IP layer. So in layman's terms, understand it like this, that if you have a local network, you have a LAN, you don't need to connect with the outside world. You don't need a router. If you have the requirement to connect with the outside world, if your counterpart, if your other party, means the recipient, is at the remote location, then your switch cannot give the access to connect with that particular device. Okay, so in that way, you have to use a router so that you can use multiple routers. You will reach at the destination local network, and then in that particular local network, you will find the intended receiving device. So I hope it is clear. We will design that particular type of network scenario also here. So later on, if you don't understand right now, later on you will understand clearly. Okay. So it is the subnet mask. We set up all the things. Data link. What is the protocol running at the data link layer? It is the Ethernet, and at physical layer also we have the same protocol. Okay, because in many theory classes also you will see that data link many times people show in the figures as a part of physical layer, but it is considered as a separate layer because of MAC address. At physical layer you don't have a addressing mechanism. Simply electronic layer, you can say all the electronic activities do get performed here. So simply accept it. So we configured the node 1. Now click on the properties of switch. First device got set up. We are setting up the second device. Switch, general properties, name of switch. So we can write down here anything, whatever we want to write. My switch. Okay, single switch. Again, the latitude, longitude, device type, etc. Okay, general properties over. Now we have two interfaces here. Why two interfaces? Because one line is here, second line is here. So one interface with respect to this network and another with respect to this network. Now you are saying, you will say that, sir, right now you were saying that we have a single network, then you will use a switch. Then how you are saying it is a separate network? It is certain, means I'm just giving you a basic assumption. Consider it like that packet is coming from this particular device, then it is a sort of different network at data link layer. Okay, and it is a different network, but it's a you can say it's a wrong practice to say like that, because we consider a subnet with respect to IP layer only. So here if we have a router, then whichever link will go from router, that will be a particular network. Then under it we can have multiple subnet, so we can say that it is a subnet sort of thing. It is not a network. So packet will come from here, will go here, and then will go here. So two interfaces are required. So first interface, you click here and you can see the buffer size, switching latency, means at what speed it is processing the packets, switching priority, etc., etc., ID, spanning tree. Again, I'm not exploring all the details because these are too many. And then the physical properties, that it is working in full duplex mode. Full duplex means you can send as well as you can receive. And then standard Ethernet, that is 802.3U. Okay, 0.3, and then again multiple versions of it are available. So here this 803.U is of 100 base T standard. Now you must have heard this in your theory classes. So 100 stands for the media speed, base is for baseband. Baseband means there is a single signal sort of thing. Okay? Only signals are carried over the medium. And third one is here the T. T4 segment is a twisted pair segment. Okay. So we close it. And again we go into the second interface. We see here if you want to increase or decrease these buffer size or all these things, because these things will impact your processing capability. If you increase the latency, then obviously it will take more delay. So sort of things increasing particular thing, decreasing particular thing will impact your final results. And in simulation emulation, one important thing is that you can set all the parameters at your own. But point is, if you are not setting the standard values, then your results will also be obviously non-standard. So once you are getting the flexibility, do not think do not take it for granted. You have to adapt the networking parameters. Those are supposed to be recommended by the respective protocol. For example, with respect to UDP, when I show you the transport layer behavior, at that time two options were there. One was the TCP, second was UDP. In the UDP, the packet size was there, that is around 1476 something. It was written there. So the maximum limit is supposed to be below 1500. If you put a packet size limit above than that, then the behavior might change. You may get some different output. So that's why some standard values, some standard forms of and the practices you need to carry on in the simulation. So we just simply accept it, nothing much at switch side. Again, we'll configure wired node 2. We'll click all the same things that we discussed. You can rename here node 2. Then again same things, application we cannot set up right now. Transport layer. See here, this thing I was talking about. So it is the thing I was saying. You can click here. And then you can, ideal practice, below 1500 you should put. So we are using TCP, as we were using TCP here also at this particular node. So TCP communication it is going to be. Then network layer. At network layer, IP version 4 is working. And you can set the IP address if you want to. If you don't want, okay, leave it. DHCP will take care. So automatically the IPs are assigned. We didn't enter these IPs. Then how did it come up? Because of DHCP service. Okay, so dynamic host configuration protocol will take care of dynamically configuring all the devices, including the routers, etc. Means all the IP devices. So simply accept it. Now we are ready. It is the hardware setup. Okay, so this grid version, whichever device is here in this particular grid version, it is the default setup. Now, above at the top of this particular hardware setup, we'll set up an application because no network can function without the application setup. So now we are trying to configure the application layer. So when we understand the protocol stack, the layer structure, then there we see the IP layer, application layer. So that application layer is supposed to be at top. So just copying that analogy here, this simulator also shows this application icon will never come inside this particular grid window because this grid is supposed to be the hardware environment, and on top of the hardware you are deploying the application. So it is just a simply semantic of this particular kind of behavior. See here, I click here on application and I click in between of grid. Anyway, it will automatically go at the top of grid. So application is getting deployed at the top of hardware setup. So right click again, you can change the icon, you can remove it, and you can change the properties. Okay, we are interested in changing properties. So we'll go here. So in the application, I'll again take 2 minutes of time because initial time in the initial setup, time is important to give the fundamentals. Once you understand the fundamentals, later on you can do your own hit and trials. So application type, lots of application types because network is supposed to be used by heterogeneous devices, wide variety of devices. So wide variety of devices, their protocols, their parameters, their configuration might be different, their capabilities will get differ. So accordingly, their application type will also get differ. For example, a device is not supposed to be capable enough. For example, suppose I am using a mobile phone with just 512 MB RAM. Then it is not supposed to process some heavy graphics applications. My video quality will be very poor in that. Real-time video conferencing will be in trouble. So sort of thing, whenever you are going to have the application type, consider which particular type of application device, which particular type of networking device you are going to use. Okay, so here we are using CBR, constant bitrate. Constant bitrate is supposed to deliver the traffic with constant speed. So in this way, it is supposed to be the behavior that traffic will get generated at constant speed and your application will get interact each other based on that traffic. So constant bitrate is there. You can define custom, then email, HTTP, video, voice, database, file transfer applications. You want to transfer some heavy file, then you will choose FTP. Trying to have some database access, etc., then querying and all those things will taken care here. Voice, video, HTTP, email, and custom is just the plain simple. Whenever you do some software installation, suppose, then in a software installation also there is an option always custom installation. Custom installation means you can set all the parameters by on your own, so you don't need to go with the default values. But if you choose some other application type, all the default values will come into picture. For example, I choose CBR, constant bitrate. Then you can see the end time is end time start time not here. The other values, okay, they have not given here with respect to video. Okay, with respect to video, you are sending some video data, then encryption options you must have to choose. So all these encryption option, random startup, whether you want to start at random or not. And if you want to choose a voice, then in voice, again, the codec options, hope you are familiar with. So these codec options are available here. These were not available in CBR. So what I'm trying to say that whenever you will click a specific application type, some of the extra options will appear, some of the unnecessary option will get disappear, because that particular application supports a particular functionality, and that support functionality is not supposed to be present in every other application. So if we want to design a general, very layman application, okay, then we will choose the custom. So custom means I'm defining all the things. So this thing is application. What application? My application. Now, which one is the source node? Now we have only two nodes. You can see here. Node 1, node 2. So there are only two options. These are the IDs. When we saw the properties of node, there was a ID option. Node ID. So it was 1 and 2. So it is the node ID 1 shown here. So we will make source as 1 and destination as 2, because there is no other option. Okay. So here is 2. Then end time, start time. Okay. No need to touch it. If you want to set up, okay, according to the definition, when the generation of application packets will stop. So obviously you don't need to touch it up, because later on we can increase the speed of simulation, or we can decrease the speed of simulation. If you want to change it, okay, you can change it, no problem. Then source to destination, application will get deployed, but that application will get deployed in real time. Then obviously in real time we doesn't see anything. For example, you are chatting on WhatsApp with your friend, then you are not seeing any line, but just for the sake of visibility, for improved GUI configuration, they have given an option that if you have a complex environment and you have deployed multiple applications, hundreds of devices, tens of applications, then it is needed to identify correctly that which particular node is connected to which particular intended destination. So then this option of showing line, etc., is useful. Otherwise, in this small configuration where you have only two devices, there is no need to configure it. But okay, we configure it, then show line. Then encryption, you want some encryption, okay, add these. But again, if your device is not capable enough, but here we have taken the Ethernet device. It is the wired device. So if it is wired device, means continuous power is supposed to be here. It is linked with regular power supply. So there is no tension with respect to any encryption. Any strong encryption you want to take, you can take it. Okay, so if we choose AES, it will encrypt the data. But I am trying to deploy the first application in its very simple form, so I am choosing none. Okay. If you have some sensor node or some device that is power sensitive, then I encourage not to use any sort of encryption. But again, it's a trade-off. If you have a sensitive environment, like you are in war zone and there are multiple receptors, there are some eavesdropping devices, those can listen your open traffic, then obviously you need to encrypt it. So again, it's a question of trade-off. Whichever thing you want to include, you can include. Then random startup, you can start. No, you want to start, okay, seed values will help in the random startup. What is the concept of seed value? We'll see. Okay, I make it true. Then distribution, what is the packet size distribution? Packet size distribution means the packet size will get distributed in constant way or in exponential way, and again the respective value of that particular type. Everything. Again, if you are confused with these things, I'm not going to discuss all these things here because related to probability and all means how your traffic behavior will be in future. That is going to be decided by this particular distribution. Hope you are familiar with this concept. So again, the inter-arrival time. So the time between different packets. So that inter-arrival time, what is supposed to be? Is it constant or it is supposed to be exponential also? Similar options. So the traffic properties, how the traffic will get generated, how it will get distributed with respect to one packet, what can be the difference to other packet and sort of things. Those are set up here. So just to simply accept it. I think these things, if you are a simple starting user, you are a beginner, you just need to focus on these things. Leave it, these things in its constant. Okay. So custom or any other CBR or whatever, custom, choose the name, choose the source, choose destination. And if you want to show line, show and done. Choose accept. So see here, my application got deployed on this particular hardware setup from node 1 to node 2. Okay, and line is coming here. If I might have chosen there, don't show line, then this line would not be here. And still the application has already deployed. So we are set up with the hardware, we are ready with the hardware configuration. Application also got set up. Now just we need to set up the runtime parameter if we want to set. For example, if you want to log the events, we want to set up the dynamic metrics, then we just have the option of packet trace. Firstly, I will not set up these options and will show you the output. Then I will set up these options and will show you the output. So you will feel the difference. What is the difference here? So I simply click on run simulation. So when I click on run simulation, it will ask for the time, simulation time. So I will not make it 100 because it is seconds. So we'll make only 10 seconds just to fast up the process. Then there are packet animation options. It is a really good option in NetSim. You can record your animation. So later on you can play it. You can analyze how the packets are moving, etc. Or you can play somewhere else on YouTube, etc. So simulation will slow down marginally if you record animation first. If you play and then record, then it will significantly reduce, not much. But if you don't play or record the animation, it will be really fast. So depending again on your choice. If you have time, go with the first option. If you don't have time, go with the third option. Okay. And lastly, the seed values. Just 2 minutes before I discussed the concept of random traffic generation. So every application is supposed to run on some sort of traffic. But as we are using a simulator or the emulator, so that simulator or emulator is supposed to work on the, you can say, artificial traffic. So multiple artificial traffic generator tools are available in the market. Paid ones also available, open source also available. So you can choose any specific application, and then through that application, you can just simply generate traffic. Again, with respect to particular probability, means particular distribution, whether you want to generate with a constant bit rate, or whether you want to generate with constant pattern, or you want to generate with exponential pattern. We discussed right now, 2 minutes before. Okay. So these seed values will help you. Seed value 1 will give you one number. Seed value 2 is the second number. And you can set these numbers in the range of 1 to this particular range. So point is that if you want to generate a random number, what is the need to give the range? Because as long range as you have, there is a more probability of randomness. Means you can increase your randomness by increasing your thresholds. You can say the starting threshold of generating a random and the closing threshold. Means your random number can only range between these points. So suppose if there was an option of 1 to 10, then your random number, suppose it is an integer number. Okay. Then your random number only have 10 choices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But if you have these many numbers, then obviously the chances of repetitiveness gets reduced. So that's why if you want to create a random application, or you want to have the real effect in your simulation, then obviously your traffic must be real time. But how your traffic will become real time? You don't have the real devices here to send the traffic on to your network. So in that way, you have to generate that traffic and make sure that traffic is random. So to make traffic random, you need to choose some sort of random function generator, random traffic generator. So again, the traffic is a number. because how many packets you generated, at what particular rate you generated, with what particular pattern you generated. So all these things are just numbers. So if you have some sort of random number generator in the tool, we have an expert on this particular concept only, means people are doing research with respect to random number generation only. So if you have interest, we will put some session, do put comments or reply us after this workshop. If you want to have a workshop on random number generation, we have Aditya Japa, our chair, that is expert on random number generation. So we'll detail you, because we do not talk about normally on these things, that what is the importance of traffic, what is the importance of randomness. But these are really important tools, because if you have deployed something, if you have generated some application, if you have generated some protocol, but you have used some layman traffic, means some basic traffic protocol traffic you have used, and your protocol is functioning really good. So it's a kind of thing that you have already manipulated the environment. Understand it like this, that suppose, I hope you understand the ML, machine learning concept. Then there is a concept of modeling, and then training and testing. So first you model a thing, then you train it, and then you test it. Okay. Kind of artificial intelligence. Okay. So you modeled something, means you created a robot. Then you given some data to it. You installed all those data. You trained that particular robot with respect to that particular data. When the robot got trained, now it is supposed to function in the right way. Means it is supposed to be reliable. But when you give the test data, it is functioning really good. It is functioning everything. Okay. But the training data and testing data were almost the same. Means there was a very little randomness between training and test data. Then what will be the end result? That once your robot will move into the outer environment, means once it will face the real environment values, once it will face the real constraints, real data will come onto this, then it will not be able to handle all those things. So randomness is really important. Right now I'm not talking much on this, because traffic is supposed to be generated randomly, and these values, the effect of these values will not get reflected here much. Okay. So later we'll see, and we'll have some workshop on this whole thing also. Okay. So just simply leave it into default values. If you want to change it, you can change it like this. Okay. So 10 seconds. Second option is of IP and ARP configuration. We'll see after some time this option, because you'll get confused. Okay. Once we'll see the plain simple run. We clicked on the run simulation. We set the simulation time. We want to record play animation, because we have plenty time. Okay. And we just simply click it. Okay. System is a little bit slow, so that's why it is taking time. But if you have a better configuration, obviously it will not take much time. So with respect to 10 seconds, it is going to take almost 7 to 8 seconds. In my case, it is taking almost 15 seconds, because the system is slow. Okay. So here you can see it was the environment, and these are the results, loading application results. So it is the result window. You can see simulation results here. You can save these results if you want to, save network and results as, or you can take a print. So you can print these results also. Okay. So you can see the difference between a paid licensed software and between an open access software. There things will be there, but the ease of users will not be present. But in paid licensing, companies do focus on this thing, because as much as it will be easy to use, more users will use it. Similar concepts do stand with respect to Windows also. After much development into the field of Linux and open source networking, still people are using Windows in majority. What is the point? Because children don't know how to deal with commands. Children don't know how to run the complex environment. So that's why Red Hat, Linux, Ubuntu, all these environments are too good from security point of view, from data management point of view, from file structure point of view. But still people are obsessed about Windows. Why? Reason is really simple, because Windows offers the perfect, means almost perfect GUI. It is really simple. Here it is written start, so you can start from here. Then it will show you the accessories, means these are the helping things, helping utilities. There is a notepad, you can note down here something. So everything is so simple, everything is so visualized. Here it is the cut option, you can cut it. So earlier you need to run commands. There was a DOS implementation is also included in the Windows. So here you can see, means if you want to see that how earlier people used to struggle with every small thing. If you want to open a file, you need to write a command. If you want to delete a file, you need to write a command. So visualization and ease of access, these two things means the presentation, the GUI framework, that is the real power of any software, because every person becomes able to use that particular software if its GUI is too good. And marketing companies, the people or the companies who are making profit out of these products, they focus on that particular thing. So you can clearly see the difference in NetSim. Everything is so visualized. Even the documentation is also present in real time. So everything is there. You can see that. And these are the options. So what are the default options? These are the simulation results. If you click on it, it will drop down. See here. These are the network metrics. Which one? This one. Then Q metrics. Then TCP metric. And the IP metric. Okay. So IP means related to the networking devices. And here, with respect to the TCP, because we configured the TCP protocol, the IP metrics and the forwarding table. Forwarding table with respect to node 1 means how node 1 is forwarding, means how node 1 is connected with other devices. So network destination means the network address of this particular node 1 was 10.0.0.0 because what we used? We used 10.0.1.1. So 10.0.1.1. So 1.1 got 0 because of the subnet multiplication. So if you want to get the address of the network, then you just need to multiply the subnet values with, means multiply means logically end. You need to logically end the subnet values to the IP address of any particular node present in that particular network. So only one node was there. So it is 10.0.1.1 node was there. And it is connected to 10.0.1.2 because it is the same network. We have used just a simply switch, no router. So there is no separate network. Okay. So it is directly connected on the link. Okay, we'll discuss these things later on in detail. You just simply understand that these are the simulation results and we set to the original view. It was the default view. Okay. So once we run the simulation, this kind of result we'll get. We'll get the Q metrics, we'll get the application metrics. So application delay, what is the in microseconds? It is the delay. If you want to see in detailed view, then it will show the packets also. The transmitted packets, packets received. So all the packets got received means no packet loss, kind of. Okay. So here, then payload received, what is the throughput, what is the delay in microsecond and Mbps, those are written over here. Then acknowledgements sent received at TCP layer, means at transport layer. Okay, and then network. So all these things are here. We just simply close it. And we come on to this screen. Okay, so here we recorded animation. As we recorded animation, that's why we are able to play here. So once we play here, you will see the real power of NetSim. In most of the means simulators, you will not find this thing. That packet is moving in real time with so good visualization. Again, the marketing strategy. So I will slow down the animation speed before starting this animation. I will slow down the speed and I will increase a bit simulation time. Okay. If we are okay, it is starting only. Don't increase the simulation time. Okay, I will explain you one by one how it is working. So we start with the okay. See, I'm restarting again. So at the very start, TCP sync packet came from here to here. Now TCP acknowledgement, TCP sync acknowledgement is coming back from here to here. Why it came? Because at transport layer, we used TCP protocol. We used TCP protocol means TCP uses three-way handshaking. Three-way handshaking is used by TCP to make it sure that the proper link has been established from source to destination. So that's why TCP protocol will send a TCP sync packet. Means, are you able to hear my voice? Right now, I'm discussing with you. So I ask that am I audible? Then somebody at the backside replies, yes, sir, you are audible. Okay. So I am sending a sync packet. Are you audible? Sorry, am I audible? So it is my sync packet, means I'm trying to confirm whether the receiver is connected or not. Then the other party, he will reply, yes, you are audible. Okay. Then this TCP sync means my question's answer is coming back. So TCP sync's acknowledgement is coming back from receiver side to source side. Now I heard his voice, then I will give again some sort of acknowledgement. Okay, thank you. You are audible too, sort of thing. So again, once one acknowledgement will go there. So initially I send the acknowledgement, then he sent the confirmation you are audible, then I send the confirmation that you are also audible. So it is the three-way handshaking. Initially I ask the question, then he will reply, then I will confirm. Same thing. Again say it. See it. I reduce the animation speed. It will go really slow now. See here. TCP sync event. Then TCP sync's reply came back. Now again TCP acknowledgement is going back. Now after this TCP acknowledgement, now the confirmation is there that source is rightly connected with the destination. Now you can start your application transmission. Why it is needed? Because common difference, if you have the UDP, processing of packets will be fast because this three-way handshaking will not be present in case of UDP. But your transmission might be unreliable. Suppose you are working or you are making your network in some hostile environment. Then in that particular case, you are not able to set up a secure network using UDP because TCP ensures that your link is connected to the intended receiver, but UDP just transmits it on any of the available link. Once it reaches the destination, okay, he will accept, rest will drop it or deny it. So UDP may create unnecessary congestion on the network, but TCP doesn't. So in long run, if you want to transmit long file, then obviously you have to use TCP. So, okay, continuing with the discussion, you enjoy this video for 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'll take some break. Okay, see it. डॉक्टर नेचुरल स्पेलिंग बता देना। Okay, Okay, so I think you have observed this thing, that it is just simply sending the application packet, and then again the appropriate acknowledgement is coming back. Application packet 30, then its acknowledgement coming back, then application packet 31. Similar way. Now you might have understood, I think, the concept of first thing, the distribution, because these number of packets in particular application will depend on the distribution. And we said just the 10 seconds time of simulation. Still, so many packets are there. So you can increase the simulation time. Suppose you don't have the time to see all the packets, you just simply increase the simulation time. Now see here, directly packet number 353. Its acknowledgement is coming back. Similar way, you can increase the simulation speed also. It will go fast. I don't have time. Okay. In this way, it will be unreadable. You just need to lock down the things. You want to see the simulation time, it is running down here at the downside. You can see in microseconds it is coming back. Then the packet information, packet number, etc., etc., and now it is completed. Okay. So whole network traffic. Now you can save this network and results. Okay, I want to save it. I will name it experiment 1. And path wherever you want to. Okay, I'll path and document. First networking workshop types of. Okay. Experiment got saved. It is experiment 1. Now if you want to view result, we can click here, and again all those results, those I have already showed you, you can see here. Okay, now suppose it is the visualization window. If you want to cut here, it will ask you, do you want to close NetSyn? No, you don't want to close NetSyn. Then how you will get back to your network? And then it is the view network option. So if you want to edit your network, you don't need to close the NetSyn and again you have to start it. You just simply click on view network. It will bring you back at the hardware setup option. And here you cannot just simply edit anything. You are currently in view mode and cannot edit. So you click edit parameters and simulate again by using the edit icon in the toolbar. So point is that everything is so well managed, everything is so organized, everything is so documented that you don't need to worry about anything. Okay, so anything goes wrong, just simply do it. Just simply hit and try. So everything, it will guide you. You are doing this particular thing wrong. You need to do this. You need to do that. So like this, everything is here. So we click on edit button option. Now again we are in ready to edit mode. Okay, so now we can click anything. We can drag and drop. We can do like this. We can play with the topology. Okay, so we will add some more options down here. Now before adding more options, I promised you to show the behavior of these things. Okay, one thing. I run it again for 10 seconds without IP configuration. Okay, and I forgot to show this particular option, packet trace and event trace. So that's why I'm rerunning it. So got completed, showing results. Okay, we got the results. Now see here, if I delete something here, okay, if I delete all these things, the tables or something like that, minimum one window need to be docked. Okay, it will dock one window. Now you how to restore the original view? It is the option restore to original view. It will bring down all the available options, and those were the default in default output window. Then you want to open packet trace. You click on it. It will say packet trace is not enabled for this simulation. Why did it happen? Because at the simulation time, at the hardware setup, at the application setup time, we set up the hardware. At the application setup time, there was an option just next to run simulation option. There was the option that packet trace. You just need to simply click on it and you need to accept it. Okay. Once you enable it, then it will show you the packet trace in the form of Excel sheet. If you don't enable that particular option, it will not allow you to log the packets. Okay. So packet you want to log into a particular sheet because then only you can analyze the behavior. Then only you can export the packets into some particular file, and then you can perform some sort of scripting. You can use Perl, Python, etc. just to do the intended scripting with respect to that particular file. Okay. So you click on it, then open event trace. Click on it, the same thing. Okay. Event trace is also not enabled. So same thing I showed you. Close it. Go to view network. Click edit. Experiment is not saved. Do you want to save? Already saved? Yes. Okay. We already saved. Leave it. Edit. No. We came here. See here. Next to run simulation, these are the packet trace option. So I click on packet trace. It is already log is enabled. There are two options, enable, disable. By default, enable option is there. Then why did it not show after the run simulation? Though all the packets are captured in the packet trace, it was saying that packet trace is not enabled for this particular simulation. Why it is so? Because default enable option was already there, but it will not function until you open it and click OK. Remember this important property. Okay, means every network environment behaves in a particular way. NetSim behaves in a particular way. Doesn't matter whether a particular option having a default value. Unless you open it and click it OK, it will not consider it as enabled. So we click on it. Already enable option is there. Still we need to open it and click on OK. Then only it will become OK. Okay, now packet trace is enabled. Dynamic metrics. Okay. I want to see the link metrics as well as the application metrics. So with respect to link metrics, I want to see all the links, wired, link 1, link 2, and I want to plot graphs after simulation. So if you want to plot graphs, you can use this option. Okay. Application metrics also, you want to plot application. Okay. Now this option is also available. Okay. Now event trace option is also not available here. It records every single event in a file which is stored in a user defined location. Now we are using packet trace, so event trace will get open with respect to specific environments. So right now we are just simply creating a simple network. No event tracing is available here because of the network environment setup. As I told you, that a specific option will become available once you set up a specific options according to your requirement. So okay, it is done. Do again 10 seconds. Click it OK. And it is running. So you can see here, waiting for plot. It was written there. You might have observed loading simulation results. Now see here. Earlier, these graphs were not present there. Why? Because there we didn't enable that particular option with respect to dynamic metrics. Okay. And inside those metrics option, there was an option that I want to plot the graphs. So now the plots are also available. So these plots are available here. You can see metrics. If you want to focus on a specific part of the output, you click on this particular thing. Just simply you want to focus onto that particular area. So it will focus onto that particular area. Okay. So these things, if you want to revert back, it will revert back. Application throughput plot is there. Again, your throughput is this one. Your delay is this much. In microseconds, if you want to see the detailed view is also available. Number of packets sent, bytes, etc., etc. Then link throughput with respect to a specific link. Those are also here. And these are the plots. It is the application, overall application throughput. Okay. And it is the link to throughput. So sort of similar, little bit difference initially only. Okay. That is because of initial control traffic, because of handshake, etc., etc. Some of the acknowledgement go from this particular node to that particular node. So some link may face some extra traffic, but it is not like that. That in every case, sometimes the parameter setting also is important. What is the latency, etc., and what is the processing rate? So bit error ratio is also there. So if a link having a particular error rate, then obviously its functioning will depend according to that. So okay, we have seen all these things. If you want to change the color, etc., there is the coloring option. You want to click here. Okay, you want to make it green. You want to make it red. Similar way. Then X parameter options, Y parameters, XY parameter option. Then these chart properties, etc., and then the average. Time average you also want to see. Then it is the time average. So in this way, multiple options are there. You can see the output window. Then click on the event trace. Event trace is not enabled, so you will not be able to see it. Cut it. You want to see simply simulation, it will show the same simulation again. Okay, close it, view network, edit it, and you can see here view animation option is enabled now. Why? Because it is already saved, but initially it was not enabled. So you can see here, you want to save, no. Now we are in edit mode, and you can see view animation option is not enabled now because you are in edit mode. You have not run the simulation. Then how you can see the animation? Okay, so you can see animation only after running the specific simulation in the environment. Once the result is stored, because you can record animation option is there. So later on you can view the animation. Okay, dynamic matrix option we have seen. Environment setting, this option we didn't talk about yet. This thing, okay, simply click it. It will show you that how you can do the environment setting. Radio, okay, we discussed already. Close it. Then I think all the options got covered. Close, and it is the basic help. Similar thing. Now one more thing, that if you run simulation, then IP and ARP configuration option is there, that I told you that we will discuss later. So we'll discuss right now. If you click on this particular tab, then IP is Internet Protocol and ARP is the Address Resolution Protocol. Okay, so you can configure here. What is the simple configuration? Either enable or disable. Now disable, okay, fine, it will not work. But if you want to enable, again there are two options. Two option means one thing is auto, means it will automatically take care of this particular protocol, and file means that if you want to enable this particular protocol, but you want to configure yourself in your own way, then you have to give the necessary file. So you need to give the protocol description in a particular file, and then you will browse that particular file. Click on it, browse it, and wherever your particular setup with respect to that particular protocol is there, you just simply choose it and enable it. But we are better choosing the auto behavior because we have not created any support file with respect to a specific protocol. And with respect to IP forwarding also, IP forwarding means whether the IP will work in its intended way or not. That is IP forwarding. So point is that you obviously don't want to disable it. In local LANs, okay, it is not required, but still in if you use router, etc., obviously it has to be enabled. So you enable, and if you want you enable it with file, okay. If you want to disable it, then it is not like that it will not forward the packet now. It is disabled means enable through file is disabled, means it will taken care by a DHCP server. So dynamic host configuration protocol server will automatically take care of IP forwarding. It will automatically allocate the dynamic IPs. As you can see here, it is written over static IP. So static IPs will not get forwarded. Okay. If you want to do, you can do like in our networks. It is the network. I'm showing you in real time. We have the networks. Sorry for the trouble, it's a bit slow. Okay, so you go to properties. My network is active now. You can see packets are sent as well as received.
How much time it take?
5 minutes. I'm okay.
Okay, I'm calling them.
So here QoS packet scheduler, etc., lots of options are there, but you go to IPv4. Here you can see obtain an IP address automatically is an option. So right now what we are doing here, see here, static IP forwarding is disabled, means automatically it is being taken care of. Okay, but if you want to do it statically, then use the following IP addresses. Then here you need to put 10 dot something something, etc., depending on your network type. Remember it, you cannot choose any IP address. Depending on your network configuration, you have to choose the IP address. Okay, so as I want to use the DHCP, so I will choose the IP address automatically. So now DHCP will take care. Similarly with DNS server. Okay. So just simply close it. Okay. Okay. And close it. And we move on. So we just simply enable. Already ARP was enabled. Now I disable it. It is the only difference. Static IP you don't need to touch. DHCP will take care. Static ARP you can disable. Okay. So you disable it. Click OK. Now it will run. ARP we disabled. Okay, so simulation. I am closing the window, reducing the animation speed, and I am playing it. Now you see it. Earlier there was directly the sync packet was going from source to destination. Now sync packet is not going first. TCP sync is not going first. First ARP request packet is going. Why? Because we disabled ARP. We disabled static ARP. So we means we disabled ARP there. Now it is not taking care automatically. Now first switch will understand the MAC address of this particular system, and then this particular system will reply back its MAC address to switch, and then it will get forwarded to here. So initially ARP packets, ARP request came here. Now ARP reply is going back here. Now it got to know the MAC address of both. Now TCP sync is coming. Then TCP sync, now TCP sync acknowledgement, and finally the three-way handshaking getting completed with TCP sync. Now the normal packet transmission. So I hope you are clear now with the basic description, basic devices, basic TCP sending, three-way handshake, and basic ARP understanding. And one more thing that we left in this session, that is that we need to show you the router behavior also. Okay, so let me quickly complete that one also. Do you want to save it? No. Okay. We are starting new internetwork. We are taking a router. We are taking switches, 2 switches, and then we are taking a wired node. Okay. We can take single node and directly can connect it with the router also, because it is also a interconnecting device. Okay, but I am showing you just a simple thing. A standard network configuration is like this always. Someone who was asking what is the difference between a switch and router, it is the difference. It is the base layer, it is the MAC layer, and it is sort of IP layer. You can understand it like that. It is the physical layer. Here application get originated, then physical layer. Data link layer means MAC addresses get processed here, IP addresses get processed here. Okay, sort of thing. I am taking the default configuration, so not setting the properties, not setting the properties of link also. You can set the properties of link also, that uplink speed, downlink speed, beta error ratio, etc. Accept it. Okay, just I need to deploy the application. CDR, we are taking the custom application. Okay, you can take the custom or show the CBR. Different flavor will be there. Okay, make it okay. Okay, we need to choose the different destinations. 7 I choose. Accept it. Now application is from 4 to 7. Okay, and I'm just simply running it with ARP disable option. Sorry, I run it for 100 seconds. We need to run it for 10 seconds. So okay, so we are running just for 10 seconds with ARP disabling. So you will see the ARP demonstration again. Now see the exact behavior. Our initial network, nothing is there. How it is going to be? Okay. So I'm closing it. See the animation. Again, I'm reducing the speed. See carefully. It is the last sort of video, I think, according to time. So observe it. Initially, ARP request came. It got broadcasted because the switch doesn't know the address. ARP reply came from router. Now, it is the important thing. ARP reply is supposed to come from destination, but it didn't come from destination. ARP reply came from router. Why? Because switch knows that there are two paths. From here, source packet came. Obviously, it cannot be the destination. It is the source. Then these two are the possible destinations. Now, it is also denied that I am not the destination. Then what is the last source? Router. So router sends the reply that yes, that particular IP that you mentioned in your destination IP field, that belongs to other subnet, that belongs to other network. It is a separate network and it is a separate network. So destination IP belongs to the other networks and I have a connection to that particular network. So in this way, on behalf of this particular network, router replied the ARP reply. Now ARP reply will come from here. Now sync will go here. Now once the TCP sync got here, it got started. But now see, after sync came here, then ARP request came here. Why? Because once sync came here, it cannot reply with respect to TCP because it is not the destination. It can show that yes, I am the one through which you can reach to the destination, but I am not the destination. I am just the intermediate node. So that's why router can reply the ARP reply, but it cannot reply the TCP sync acknowledgement. So TCP sync acknowledgement will definitely come from here, but it also doesn't know that which one is the intended destination, this one or this one. So that's why ARP request came here, then got broadcasted. Now ARP reply came here, and then TCP sync came to only this particular node based on the ARP reply. Now TCP sync acknowledgement came back here. Now it is the final confirmation of three-way handshaking going here at the destination. Now the actual packets will start. That is the application of constant bit rate, and it is the first packet. Came here. Now we set up the TCP environment. That's why the TCP acknowledgement. So I hope it is clear to all of you. Thank you very much for your participation and for patience. If you have any question till now, please do ask. I'm waiting for 1 minute. Then we'll conclude this session.